Hello and welcome to this edition of Dr. Clark Reports. I'm your host, Gary Clark, and my guest is my longtime friend, Darrel J. Saizan Jr., who is with Saizan and Associates. And greetings and welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Gary. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. It's good to have you here. You know, I see you always in the community. If I don't see you, I hear about the good work that you're doing. How you been?
I've been fine.
Yes.
Working with my family and working on the things that I do in the business that I'm in.
Absolutely. Speaking of the business that you're in, Saizan and Associates, tell us about the work that you do and the importance of it to our community.
I'm involved in transportation planning and project management, and this comes from a long career that I've had in government, in state and local government prior to doing this. And, you know, I've been involved in quite a few projects that I'm really proud of. Presently, I'm involved with planning the transportation arteries and working with the North Terminal project at the airport. Yeah, I'm involved with that, and we're getting access roads together and everything, and the off-ramp. And, you know, we're blessed. We have the new terminal coming, which is going to be great for the city. It really is, for this region, for this part of the state. But we also are blessed because we now have a dynamic new director out there, Kevin Dolio, who served as an assistant director of aviation during the time I was in government, which we'll talk about later. But I'm involved with that project. That's my priority right now. I've been involved with the Loyola streetcar extension. I was involved with that. That's something that we came up with when I was in government. There was a master plan done, and we've gotten to build that out to redo the train terminal. I've partnered with Ray Manning on that since I left government. I've been involved with that. So when you go in the Union Passenger Terminal, which is beautiful, you will see, you know, the new doors, the restrooms, and things like that to upgrade it. I was involved with that. I also serve on a number of boards now, in addition to what I've done previously. I served on the Non-Flood Asset Board. I chaired the Airport Committee, which brought Lakefront Airport back. It is no accident that that terminal is as beautiful as it is. We fought to bring it back.
It's a great venue also for other activities.
It is a great venue for other activities, and we brought that back. You see my name on a plaque in that building, and it was not easy because there were many, many people who did not want it to come back. But I thought it was important, having served on levee boards previous to the hurricane. It's one of the pillars to help New Orleans East, okay? And so I served on that committee. I'm also... I do other public service now. I'm also vice president of the city's industrial development board, which is the board that brought the projects like the South Street Market, and one I'm particularly proud of, and that's the Hyatt Hotel. We gave them the tax relief they needed to bring back the Hyatt Hotel, which I personally wanted to see happen because that hotel had 1,200 employees. And so we did that in 2009, 10, prior to the Landry administration. I have been involved in other projects. I've been on the teams for the rail plan from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, a project that should have happened.
That was under Bobby Jindal at some point.
He gave the money back. I was on, and I'm still on the team for that project, along with HNTB and Ray Manning, and it's a crime. You know, it would happen. The money went to another part of the country. We could have mounted the service. There would have been daily service 2, 3, 4 times a day from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. But I'm on the team for that.
But that's
project.
not over, is it?
Well, as a practical matter, it's not over. But you know, the problem is that, and when you do something like that, it's expensive. And we had a stimulus grant of $400 million, and we could have done it. We were clocking in at $250 million to put it in play, and we would have put the other money aside to assist in operations and maintenance while the fare box caught up, if you follow what I'm saying.
Precisely.
Okay, but that was our plan. We're still trying to mount it now. My friends at Greater New Orleans, Inc. and friends in state government I put that plan on the agenda when Governor Edwards ran, and he put it in one of his 4 priorities. I also put the off-ramp for the airport in that plan, which is something that's coming on as well. The off-ramp.
That's really big. That's a big issue. Yes,
that's a big issue. It's coming online. We're blessed with having 2 blessings. One, great aviation director, as I mentioned earlier, and Sean Wilson, who is the Secretary of Transportation in Baton Rouge, who is a man who's from Algiers, and he's dedicated to helping this region. And so we're blessed with having that happen to help the airport. But other projects I've been involved in as a consultant include the other transportation projects that have emanated from the NOUPT plan that are located in downtown New Orleans. The whole Poydras corridor has changed because of that plan. It was confected in the early 90s when I was in government. We've begun to implement it in bits and pieces. And I think that I hope to be involved, I'm still working, I hope to be involved in what I think is going to happen once the new North Terminal opens up. We will get the at-grade arteries straight. We will. But there's going to be a glaring issue, and that is this, that there will not be a direct mass transit or rail connection from downtown New Orleans to the terminal.
Which is what you have in most major cities, be it Washington, D.C., Atlanta, or wherever.
Yeah, but I think that's going to come in due time as well. Okay, I really do. I think once the building is completed, and it's a magnificent building, Mayor Andrew deserves credit for being a force behind that. And Mayor Cantrell is, really going to push it, and to her credit, because they all realize how important it is to the region,
and especially a community such as this that relies on tourism. Yes, and it is a port city,
yes,
as well. And so this is a city where we have great commerce. And with great commerce, you have to have what you're so intimately involved in, transportation.
Exactly.
Which is the way it works.
That's the way it
works.
Well,
you see, all of these hats that you wear in the community, and in particular with transportation, and you and I talked about this before, that one you mentioned was taking place in with the airport, but also there are great areas and opportunity for other development in our community. Is that not so?
It is true. As in one of my functions on the Six Flags, should not say that early, on the Industrial Development Board,
okay,
we have long sought a solution for the Six Flags site, which we're still going to work on. Let me say this, okay? I've served previously as the city's economic development director. There are a number of underserved neighborhoods in the city that I'm concerned about. Not to do anything other, I want to see those neighborhoods serviced in New Orleans East, in the lower 9, in the upper 9, parts of the upper 9. And if my friend Troy Carter was here, yes, in parts of Algiers, because General Maya Avenue needs to come back. I think one of the things that's going to help those areas is the expansion of the University of Holy Cross, which I'm involved with.
Are you on the board on that as well?
I'm on the board of that. And it's an exciting time for them. They're training a lot of health professionals in the city. And they're doing what Dillard and Xavier used to do, and still do, but a lot of their students are first-generation students. Okay, at Dillard and Xavier, I'm sure they're first-generation students, but a lot of them are second- and third-generation students too, whose parents might have gone to Dillard or Xavier, like my parents did, But again, that's some of the things I do now. But I always, my first priority is to do the transportation planning and project management, because I'm still working. I still have not young children, but children that I'm trying to get through graduate and professional education.
Well, tell me this. Throughout your career, and in particular with your projects that you do, which one has brought you the greatest joy with Saizan and Associates? Or which ones, as opposed to making you choose from one? Yes.
Well, the one that has given me the greatest joy is I've worked at the airport now for the last 20 years as one of their as a transportation consultant, but also on other things at the airport. That's given me a lot of joy because we have needed a new airport. In the old days,
it was a travesty.
Well, yes.
The old airport.
Okay. Well, here's the story on that. In Lakefront Airport, if it had been able to be expanded in the 40s, it would have the airport, the progression would have gone to the east, but they couldn't for some reason put the land together. It was in the hands of private owners. We looked at later on putting it in New Orleans East, which would have served the Gulf Coast, but that didn't prove to be feasible. I think the one mistake the city fathers made when they located the site in Kenner, which was dairy land, they should have bought from the river to the lake.
Yeah.
Okay? So we tried to expand it, excuse me, and fortunately we were able to do it now at the North Terminal site. So I'm really proud of being involved with that project and working with getting the transportation arteries together. For right now, add grade arteries on the ground, and then the arteries hopefully down the line, mass transit. The other thing I'm really happy I've been involved with is the build out of the NOUPT plan. That started as a demonstration of how federal transportation money could affect, from an economic development standpoint, a part of a city that was underserved or not in commerce enough. That was the Loyola Corridor.
Okay.
And in that plan, we cited, upgrading the terminal, the rail connections to the airport, the canals, the Loyola streetcar link. We did. And one other thing that might be the project I'm absolutely most proud of being involved with. We cited under Mayor Bartholomew's leadership, and I want to give him credit, the New Orleans Arena.
Oh, yes.
I was the point person on that, along with my good friend Hank Braden, who's since passed. But Mayor Bartholomew, as Mayor Cantrell said recently, has not gotten the credit he deserved for putting infrastructure in the city. And Mitch Landrieu agreed with that. Without the casino, a project that I did work on a little bit with him, and I was his chief of staff, and the arena, we'd have a different city. We wouldn't have a pro basketball team. But the arena was an exciting project to work on. We got, that's what I did prior to, when I was in government. It was an extremely exciting project because we had to convince the legislature. And the arena morphed into the sports package because the governor at the time, Governor Edwards, and I remember the meetings in Baton Rouge, said, okay, now look, fellas, you've got to deliver to me votes from Jefferson Parish and the West Bank. And so we've got a ballpark here that was going to go in New Orleans East or whatever. He said, I think that's a better fit for the suburban areas. So the sports package came. The arena's part of the sports package. So I'm the point guy on that.
And that was advantageous. Yes.
Well, let me tell you, I was on the Regional Planning Commission, another board I've sat on. And what happened is, under Mayor Bartholomew's leadership, and can't say enough good things about him, we brought the whole sports package to fruition, along with leaders in Jefferson Parish, Bob Evans at the time, the original Mike Yenny, Aaron Broussard. And the arena morphed into the sports package. You remember that it was financed by the hotel-motel tax. So 86% of the tax was from New Orleans and only 14% was Jefferson. But out of that package came the Diamond, the New Orleans Arena, the ballpark in Jefferson Parish, the Saints training facility, the Hilario Center on the West Bank, the expansion of the Pontchartrain Center, and the expansion of various Nord playgrounds in the city at the behest of my good friend, then State Senator Mark Morial. So that was the greatest example of regional cooperation that I think that we've had, and I was the point person for that, and I'm very proud of that. I really am.
Well, and you know, what I like about your work and what you do is that I've always admired this, is that you know how to do well by doing good. And that's the old expression. That's beautiful. But I want to remind my viewing audience that I'm Gary Clark, and I'm speaking with my longtime friend Darrel J. Saizan Jr. And I would like for you to please tell our viewing audience the Darrel J. Saizan Jr. story.
I've just told you some of it.
Yes, sir.
And you want me to go back in time?
I want you to go back in time.
All right.
Go point to P.
Okay. Oh, no, I can't go that far back. But I will tell you this. The best thing I did, I finished from high school here at St. Augustine, went to Xavier. Probably the best thing I did. I love Xavier. I still support Xavier and St. Augustine, and it's been a beacon, just like Dillard has been, because I want to, you know, that's what we had in the city, and then to a large extent Southern and Grambling. But I got involved in government in the 70s and had the good fortune to intern for Moon Landrew, and then I put together, he hired me when I finished school, and I managed to put together a lot of projects. I was a EDA coordinator for the city in 1976 or 70 when I was out of college. And then after his administration, I put together a lot of projects for the city. Then it was federal money, the Nature Center, tennis courts, the St. Bernard Community Center, you name it. I got to work for another company. I got to work for a company in the private sector for 2.5 years, the Lake Forest Land Development Company. That's the company that built New Orleans East. Okay? They built the plaza. They built the apartments out there. They redeveloped the tracks, the first track of land between Dalman Road and Paris Road. And that's important for the city because it was a way for citizens, and especially in our community, in the black community, we were getting to be more prosperous. Pontchartrain Park was full, and a lot of people built their dream homes, people older than me out there. I remember the school teachers and the principals and the postal workers and everything. That's why I have such an affinity for New Orleans East right now, and I want to solve the Six Flags problem. There are many, many people out there who put their life savings into building those wonderful homes, and they deserve to have a basic level of retail service and restaurant service, and something like Six Flags will help that happen. So, but back to me. Then I worked for the state in the 80s. We were trying to do a regional food distribution center in New Orleans East in the Almanasta corridor, in the Michoud corridor. Well, it was a little too late for that project. Those things had developed in the 1950s, okay? And so we tried very hard. It didn't work. Then when I got involved in the Landry administration in 1986 as the economic development director, we did do one thing significant that I'm very proud of in the Almanasta corridor. I was the point person to recruit Pick and Save, McFrugal's.
Okay.
And we put that in place.
Yes, yes.
And even though it's not there anymore, we developed that property. And, you know, Crescent Crown Distributing is there, and we opened up that corridor. Under the mayor's leadership at the time, Mayor Bartholomew, we got a bridge, the Jordan Road overpass, to connect the corridor. We lit the corridor. We paved the way. Now, I was promoted. We did the sports package. And then I left government but maintained good relations with the Morial administration, who they implemented a lot of the projects to their credit that we had started. And there's yet another project that I'm very proud of, too. I sat on the Regional Planning Commission. In the late 80s, it was obvious after the success of the Riverfront streetcar that we were going to do another streetcar start. The St. Charles streetcar had been renovated. When I grew up in Mid-City, I remember the Canal Streetcar. And under Mayor Bartholomew and RPC, the people who were there, we designated that as the next streetcar start for the city. Canal Streetcar, bring that back from the river to the lake. And that's what happened. And Memorial implemented that. The congressional delegation cooperated. Then it included Congressman Boggs and then Bill Jefferson and Congressman Bob Livingston, who, even though he was a Republican, he helped us on that a lot. I remember going to see him in Washington, and he told me, "Oh, you always ask me for things that are hard." But he realized that that would help Mid-City, and it did. And now Mid-City is lit up because of that streetcar line.
Yeah, and in fact, it's a destination point in the city.
Yeah, it is,
to say the least.
But that happened also under the Bartholomew administration, and completed in the Memorial administration. I think Mayor Bartholomew is probably proud of the casino and the arena, and he should be. Mayor Dutch Morial should be very proud, and he probably would be if he was still with us, of his role in getting the convention center started, which is why it's named for him, and it should be. We've had a number of historic figures as mayor of the city, and I consider Moon Landrieu and Dutch Morial and Sidney Bartholomew and Mark Morial to be among those figures.
Yes, absolutely, because and
Mitch Landrieu for what he's done with the airport,
and that's what you want in your executive leadership of any major city or any city period, is to run the race and pass the baton, and to have the sort of continuity of growth and development that one would seek.
And I think that Mayor Cantrell wants to pick up the baton because I've seen her and I've complimented. I saw her last week in the legislature. I think she wants to do that. And I think she's going to do it. I think she's, got the right ideas, and she wants to move the city forward.
What do you see, perhaps, as the biggest impediments to growth in our community? Is it the legislature? Is it the political environment? How do you see it? Is it the infrastructure?
The city.
Yes.
For various reasons. And I'll let you draw the conclusions, but to me, and I'm going back in history now, I'm just a guy with 2 history degrees. The only thing that separates Louisiana from other states in the South, and that would include Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, if you take Atlanta out, is New Orleans. New Orleans is a world-class city. It really is. It's a great city. It's a city that has been here for 300 years. Yes, we have flaws. We have made mistakes. There have been misjudgments. There have been scoundrels, this, that, and the other. But we're the reason why people come to Louisiana and to the Gulf Coast. For whatever you want to, we've got, 2 NBA, 2 pro teams. And, we came along. We've been here a long, long time. My daughter's working with the Tricentennial now for New Orleans, Inc., New Orleans Tourism and Marketing Corporation. And I've talked to her about that. And we've had a lot of help along the way. We've had some good mayors. We've had our educational institutions, outstanding leaders of those institutions over the years that have really made a difference. And we've had a way up for African Americans especially, and for white New Orleanians, because people forget, I know about the Dillard and Xavier story, but Loyola and Tulane were also, this is before state schools got here, a way up for working class whites. First generation whites. Absolutely,
that's what LSU was and is all about.
Yes. Okay, and of course we did the same in the black community.
Well, tell me this.
And we had some good high schools and good public schools, too, I think, in those days, under segregation. I hate to say it quite like that.
Oh, no, but that's the reality that individuals know and recognize, because it is the reality. But who were the people that influenced you along the way? Very quickly, who were the major influences, personal and professional? We have 2 minutes remaining.
Dr. Francis at Xavier.
Yes.
Dr. Dent, who I did not know. My parents were Dillard graduates. My mother was, anyway. The Moon Landrew, who had the vision to try to bring the city into the modern era. Dutch Morial, who taught me a lot of lessons. He did. I'm an alpha. I pledged under him. Taught me a lot of lessons. Sidney Bartholomew, whom I admire a great deal. My dear friend Hank Braden, who's passed away. Those are some of the people for their, early on, the people I worked with that were mentors to me were Jim Singleton, who's an outstanding man to this day, Bob Tucker, who was around in those days. He was an outstanding fellow and a mentor to me. So, I mean, there have been a lot of people that have had an effect on me. Terrence DuVernay, I could keep making.
Oh, yes, all these great and wonderful names. And we have about 30 seconds remaining, and your vision for our community.
Just that it gets better than it is, and that we do what the new mayor has called for, and that's be more inclusive and include people of color at a higher level in the economic prosperity of the city.
Oh, absolutely, and that's wonderful. That is the hope and expectation that we both have. And again, I want to thank you for joining me.
All right, my pleasure.
Oh, yes,
anytime.
It was a long time coming, and I want to thank my viewing audience for tuning in. And as always, it's been a pleasure. Yes, sir. Hey.
You should have me back.